Hey guys, welcome back to Rolling Acres Farm. If you're new here, my name's Dave. Today is, I guess probably, honestly, one of my most exciting days, several days to come on the farm during the year. And that is when the hay fields, or the fields, get mowed for hay, get cut for hay. If you've been following along, you'll remember all the processes that I've gone through in the past, year now, a little over a year, to try to rejuvenate these fields out here with the lime and drilling in new seed, spraying off the noxious weeds, cutting back the thistles, the whole thing. If you're interested in that, go back and check some of my videos, and I cover most of that pretty well with what I've gotten to so far. But today is the first day of cutting. Mr. Donnie is here, and we're going to show you some footage of some old John Deere equipment doing some good work. I'm going to show you this field right here. I just commented on this a couple of 3 videos ago. This particular field here was one that was looking not so great because some stemmy material, woody material, I guess you'd say. Lots of extra weeds and just unwanted type stuff that's nothing good for grass. If you remember, I commented on and I actually made a video, I think, yeah I did, of just coming in with the bush hog and topping it. Raised it really high to cut that stuff back to keep it from growing so the grass could come out. I was a little worried that Mr. Donnie wouldn't want to cut it because it probably wasn't tall enough or thick enough, but hey, he got her cut. And as you can probably tell, may or may not tell, it's not the thickest, tallest, greatest stand, but I'm glad he did cut it because that gives the new grass that's down low a better fighting chance to come back and get established even this year, and it should give it a better chance starting off next year. But yeah, so he's up here on the hill cutting. Let's go check in with him. All right, guys, we've been checking in on Mr. Donnie here. He's cutting what I call the upper field, or the strip. Sometimes I refer to it as the strip because it's not very wide. It's kind of narrow, but it's really, really long. Where you're looking at probably a good 1,000 yards, 800 maybe, something like that. But anyway, he's up here cutting away, and I want to introduce a good friend of mine. This is John.
Hey everybody.
You probably, if you've been following along, you probably saw him on an episode a couple months ago now, I guess, wasn't it? When I was helping him get our mailboxes installed. Quick little intro with him. He's originally from New York.
Don't hold that against me.
Don't hold that against him. He and I worked together in Indiana for almost 14 years. Mm-hmm. And a couple years ago, he retired from the job. And I'm happy to report in about less than 2 months, I'm going to be retiring from the job. And when I retire, I may or may not address what we used to do for a living. But anyway, he lives here now. He and his wife moved to the great state of Tennessee. I'm lucky enough to have him as a neighbor. I mean, we live way out in the middle of nowhere here.
We're the lucky ones.
And we were able to find, he and his wife, a little bit of property just 2 miles down the road from me, believe it or not. It was just perfect set of circumstances. So anyway, he's well, let's just say he's not a country boy.
Not at all.
All right, but we're working on that.
I'm learning.
We're working on that. So he and I were just sitting here watching Mr. Donnie cut the hay, and he had a lot of questions, and we had about a 5-minute long discussion of the hay cutting process. And it dawned on me, maybe I should be filming some of this question and answer situation here, I guess you could say, because who knows, maybe some of you may have the same questions. But what we've covered so far is the type of mower that Donnie's running, and it's basically a disc mower. I think it's a 9-head disc, and each disc is oval shaped, and on the end of each disc, on each side of it, has just a small cutting blade, only about that wide, and I don't know, they're different, but about that long. But anyway, it just spins around at a very high rate of speed, and it's cutting the grass down right at just above ground level, and it just lays the grass over. All right, so with that, it takes a couple of days, depending on the weather, of course. If it rains or if we have nice, hot, sunny days, it'll just the hay has to lay out here for a day or two and dry on its own. And then what he'll do is come back with a rake. He may ted it. There's a hay tedder, and all that does is a series of fingers, metal tines, basically, that spins around real fast, and it fluffs the hay up, turns it over, spins it up a little bit, that way more air and sun can get to what was been laying on the ground. It's just a drying process. It helps it dry. After that, he'll rake it up into what's called windrows, which is kind of like a big pile in a row that he can then come back with his baler and roll over it and bale it up. Mr. Donnie does round bales. I'm not sure what size, either 4x5 or 5x5. I'll have to ask him. I'm not really sure. But anyway, lots of good questions. What was your last question we were talking about? What
would be your indicator here? You mentioned somewhere down the road, maybe in the future, that you might have to, what was the term? Fertilize.
Yeah.
So what would be an indicator when you come out to this field in 6 months or a year from now, and you look out and you're going to say, darn, I need to fertilize? What would tell you that?
Well, this year, for example, was I had a lot of good indicators, and if you've been following along, you know the processes that I've gone through to get these fields back in shape. One of your main indicators is the introduction of weeds and even saplings. Most of your weeds, for example, like your thistle and dog fennel that we've discussed, there's some pigweed. I call it stinkweed. I'm not sure the actual name for it. It's little bitty tiny yellow flowers. That's an indicator of low pH in the soil, and that's why I limed the fields last year. You choose that. You have to spread agriculture lime on the fields, which raises the pH, which the weeds don't like and they can't thrive in, but your better grasses, especially your native grasses, can. All right, this stuff is actually looking pretty good. This is what I'm really happy to see right here. This is it's kind of a mixture in there of Indian grass and big blue stem grass. I'm really happy to see that because that's actually what I drilled last year. So it's kind of a light stand right now, but as I've mentioned before, I'm still in the establishment phase with getting those two species well established out here. Last year I drilled it, which if you don't know what that means, that just means planting. I used a seed drill to put the seed in the ground. So anyway, last year didn't really see any of that pop up because it was a brand new seed. This year I'm seeing a little bit of it pop up, and hopefully by next year I'm told that it'll be even more of a stand because, let's see here we go. Here's a good example of what I really want to see. That is a big seed head. Each one of those little bitty things you can see there is a seed, and by him running over this with the mower and tedding and raking and everything, he's just going to stir those seeds up even more, and they're going to drop off and reseed the ground. So hopefully we'll get a better stand next year. I don't know if you can see it or not. This bird keeps flying around. I was just telling John a while ago. He asked about the bird. There's a bird called a Mississippi kite, and there we go. There's two of them. Don't know if you'll be able to pick that up on camera or not, but every time you mow or cut hay, you're always going to have lots of birds flying around that come in from all over the place. You got the Mississippi kites, we got purple martins. What else do we say? Starlings? What kind of swallows? I mean, swallows and different species of hawk, because obviously he's stirring up a whole lot of insects and bugs out here. They're swooping down to get those, and he may not be hitting a mouse or two out here for the hawks to come in to get. But upper field, the strip field is now appears to be done with it. All the way up there. All right, let's go follow him, see which field he's going to hit next. All right, we're down here in what I call the bowl. Let me spin you around here and show you what that means. I don't know if you can really tell or not. It's better you can tell better from up on the hillside there, but it's kind of a low spot, high on three sides, kind of deep bowl really. But we're just out here checking on Mr. Donnie, see how things are going, and I wanted to show you this. I don't know if you can really see that or not. Yeah, this is one of the things that's currently in the fields that I don't necessarily want. It's called yellow nut sedge. It's a perennial sedge, but it's not good quality. Not good quality hay. Luckily, there's not over an abundance of it, but it is out here. It's native to Europe, so which tells us that it's invasive. Not native to the United States or this region, but anyway, he's cutting it down, and like I said, I think a goat will eat it, so he's going to put it in a bale and see what happens. Well, John and I were just talking about different trees. As you probably might have seen in my last episode, I asked if you would leave comments about a tree identification video. We got one comment so far, so we may do that here in the near future. Wait till Mr. Donnie gets by a little bit. But for today, we were just sitting up on this hillside watching Mr. Donnie mow, and we were talking about trees. John asked about the sweet gum trees, and if you know anything about sweet gums, they're terrible. I mean, they take over so fast. I'm going to show you an example of what I mean here. If you have open land like this, and if you don't do mowing, even if it's bush hogging like I do, or cut the hay, cut the grass like Mr. Donnie does and turn it into hay. If you don't do that, and I mean don't do it every year, sometimes several times a year, depending on how much rain you get that year, Mother Nature will take over, and she will take over in a hurry. Let me flip you around here and I'll show you what I mean. All right, that small area right there that you can see is clearly shorter than the other trees up there. That's about well, I don't even know how big of an area it is. Not very big. But everything in there, with the exception of maybe a couple, 3 or 4 sycamore trees, is all sweet gum. For whatever reason, 10, 12 years ago, my dad or whoever used to cut the hay or whatever at that time quit bush hogging or cutting that little corner, and I don't know why they did. But they didn't do it one year. They didn't do it another year. The next thing you know, 3 or 4 years has gone by. Then you've got saplings, sweet gum tree saplings. And it gets to the point where it's like, well, it's not even worth it anymore. So let's just go around it. So that's what that is. Also, turn around here. If you want to look, see if I can get you zoomed in. There we go. I don't know if my finger. Okay. See those shorter stand of trees? There's a distinct size, height difference between those trees and the taller ones above it. Same thing over there. Again, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, those are a lot more mature, so I'm gonna go up to probably 12 to 15 years ago. It didn't get cut for some reason, so trees are taking over. But Johnny here had a good question. He said, what do you do in the situation where that stuff is already taken over to the point to where it's grown up too tall where you can't mow it? Well, in my opinion, there's two things you can do. One is do just like he suggested, which is exactly what I did. As you might remember me mentioning, this whole valley down through here, it was completely taken over by sweet gums and other trees, but mainly those sweet gums. And you could barely walk through that whole thing. Well, me personally, I couldn't stand to see it like that, because it's a big 6 acres worth of a beautiful valley, and it just got left untouched for several years. And I wanted it to be accessible again, to where I can mow it, or I can have the good grasses growing in it, wildlife could use it, all that kind of stuff. So in that situation, the trees were way too big, so I actually ended up, I did have to hire a forestry mulcher. I had a guy that came in with a Kubota, I think it was a 97, not -2. Anyway, it was the biggest Kubota skid steer that Kubota makes, and he had a forestry mulcher on it. And he got in there. It took him about 2 days to knock all that stuff down and grind it up, chop it up, the way I could get back in it with the bush hog and keep it mowed. Now these bigger areas, you got to kind of pick and choose with what areas you want to invest in and take back over. That kind of stuff there, that's so mature now, it would literally, a forestry mulcher couldn't even do that. I'd literally have to hire a logger to come in and just clear cut it.
And costly.
Yeah, it's pretty costly, very costly, because those trees aren't worth anything. One, they're not mature enough to harvest as timber, and two, they're sweet gums, so they're not worth anything. So it would be just thousands and thousands of dollars just to have him come in and cut it down, just so I could keep it mowed. So, you win some, you lose some, but I've got the place in pretty good shape now to where we can either mow it, keep them cut for hay, or I can keep it under control with bush hogging. All right, we were just sitting here talking about, as I was just discussing, about how quick Mother Nature will take over an area, how thick it will rejuvenate and revive and regrow and replant and all the things all by itself. A lot of people, sometimes I've heard, if you cut a tree down, you should plant another one in its place. Although I don't disagree with that. Good forestry management timber management is a good part of taking care of the land, because it can take over and can introduce invasive species and that kind of thing. But you know, it's not necessary to plant. I'm not against it by any means, but Mother Nature takes care of herself. And I'm gonna tell you why, or show you why right now. So, that whole hillside, I know it's hard to imagine, hard to see, but that's just nothing but woods, and I mean mature hardwood stand in there. All this section here, trees, all of that, and right in there, on the top of that little hillside there, is an opening to access to our big field, and then the trees carry on all down through there. I show you that to show you this. This is a picture of me and my little sister in April of 1986. So just barely over 40 years ago. That whole, what we're looking at is what I just showed you. All that through there. You can barely see, if I focus it or not, barely just see little tiny 3-4-year-old cedar trees. And where we are right there is literally right here on that little spot right there. My dad took the picture of us that day overlooking that area. Sycamore that we were just, I don't know if we got it on film or not. I don't think we did. Well, I guess we did a little bit. But anyway, the tallest, biggest tree there is a sycamore. You cannot even see any indication of a sycamore in that picture. And when the weather gets better, or when the leaves get off the trees and I can get into that little section of woods there, I'll try to remember to show you that sycamore tree, folks. It's a big one. I mean, it's massive. Sycamores are a fast-growing species, but that's a big tree, a really big tree. 40 years, when I think of it in terms of my lifetime, I think that was a long time ago. But for a tree to grow that big, that fast in 40 years, that's basically a blink of an eye. Pretty impressive.